All right, we're rolling. Oh.
Old standbys. Romeo and Julietta's.
Oh, yeah. When I was on my way to the track today, it was said it was -7. It didn't feel like it because it's been -20.
That's wow. So my questions today for you
Yeah.
are going to be pretty much just like leadership-y type questions. Not necessarily QSR focused,
Mm-hmm.
but applicable to QSR. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that leadership is leadership no matter your industry. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I said, I've been rereading Built to Last. And I kind of tailored some of these questions off of that book, but also with, kind of like a servant leadership focus or a leadership in general focus or a QSR focus.
Okay.
So I want to ask you the questions.
Yeah.
All right. You good?
Yep.
What values of yours, leadership values of yours, will you never, ever change, even if the results suffer in the short term?
I was actually talking about this with my 2 direct reports, so my boss and then my boss's boss.
Okay.
Last week, and I said I used to sell life insurance and would make 300 cold calls a day, no problem. And one day, a gentleman who I'll never forget by the name of Leotha Jones, out of I think it was Carbondale, Illinois, was where I had gotten the lead from. Picked up the phone, and I thought it was going to be a 1-call close. He was looking to get a universal life insurance policy, which would have netted me a huge commission. And we didn't really talk about that a whole lot because we started getting into everything that I wanted to accomplish and all the good that I wanted to do, all the people that I wanted to help, all the books I wanted to write, all of that good stuff. And he said to me, put God first, or you will lose everything.
Yep.
And I thought I was selling him a policy, and he was actually selling me probably the universal policy.
Right.
And that's Jesus.
Right.
And so I think that would be, I don't think I know, that's the value that.
So your faith, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's, yeah.
I mean.
Uncompromisable. That's
uncompromisable. Even at my game 2 nights ago, our general manager came out in our locker room as we were getting ready to go. It was about 6:45. And we would take the field at 7:05 for introductions. And he just said, hey, one of our interns, she's going to bring you out in the field around 7. She's going to do an interview in front of the whole crowd for you or with you. And I said, sure, no problem. Mm-hmm. And before the interview, I guess, officially started, she asked me a question. I don't remember what the question was. But one thing that I'm trying to be way better about is totally unashamed in my faith. And I just said, appreciate your question. Before we get started, I have to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He's the reason I'm here. And people like 2 or 3, maybe 4 people after the game said, we need more of that. Mm-hmm. We need more of that. And I don't think that's siloed to just business, although I think it certainly helps because that's where he was.
Oh, right.
He was in the market.
Right. Jesus was definitely in the marketplace. I
Right.
mean, I talk about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So no matter what, no matter what industry because I've done a lot of things, been in a lot of industries. I don't know if QSR will be the one that I retire in. It's just the one that I happen to be in now. And out of all the industries that I have been in, it certainly is probably the one where I see him the most.
so have you heard the difference between the latter, talking about the QSR industry, but you said you've been in a lot of different industries.
Mm-hmm.
So have you heard of the spider web versus the ladder in terms of careers? Okay.
No, that's interesting.
So ladder is, the rung.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a shift lead. Now I'm an AGM. Now I'm an RGM. Now I'm a district manager, a senior district manager, a COO, CEO.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ladder.
Yep.
And the spider web is I am which I think you're kind of modeling, maybe unconsciously or subconsciously. Like I am a crew member in this QSR industry. And then, I did a couple letter steps. And now I did kind of a lateral one rung down move in this industry, QSR, but in a different brand.
Okay.
But I laddered up in gym, the gym industry. You kind of laddered up there. You've did a little bit of a ladder in insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But the spider web approach is a lot of lateral moves and then a couple rungs up and then a lateral move to a different industry and a couple rungs up. You're creating a spider web.
Mm. This is in Built to Last?
It's not in Built to Last. It's in a different book I'm reading and the name just doesn't come across. Talking about the differences between, a pure lateral move where I'm in the QSR industry and I'm this, then this, then this, then this, then this, or I'm in the QSR industry. Now I'm in the insurance, or in your case, I'm in the insurance industry. Now I'm in the QSR industry. You're creating the spider web.
Yeah.
This person proposes that spider web approach is better career-wise than the latter approach. I haven't finished the whole book, so I can't tell you the conclusions or anything, but
is the book called Range?
I can't remember what it is.
Okay, because I know there was a book where the premise is being a generalist rather than a specialist.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are industries where you have to be a specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to become a pediatric neurosurgeon, you're a specialist.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to become a leader in industry, you're a generalist.
Yeah, I was just working out down here less than an hour ago, and I was listening to a Jocko Willing podcast, and he was talking about leaders. What do you say? It was above all else, leaders have got to get their point across concisely in both the written and the spoken word. And I think that, at least in my experiences, that is a byproduct of becoming an expert in multiple arenas.
Right.
Because if somebody is struggling with a speed aspect in what I do right now, I can use a sprinting metaphor because I'm an expert in that realm. If somebody is struggling with upselling a customer at the window, I can pull from my insurance experiences to help them and equip them with some word tracks and things like that.
Right.
Or if somebody is struggling with confidence or victimhood mindset or just perpetual anxiety, I can just pull from my own experiences as an athlete. Just be like, okay, well, have you ever considered maybe getting in the best shape of your life?
Right. So yeah, I think, the more I think about it, the more I think that, we used to call it jack of all trades or Renaissance man. Those are kind of some of the things.
Can I pause you one sec?
Yeah.
it was the divisional table topics championship in 2023 before the district championship, which is essentially the state championship for Toastmasters. So
Right.
table topics is extemporaneous speaking. The MC of the event gives you a question and you've got about 10 seconds to ponder it and you have to think of a response right there on the spot. It has to be at least 60 seconds, can't be any more than 2.5 minutes. It's purely shooting from the hip, speech-wise. The question that I got to win the divisional championship to bring me to the district championship was, what is better, the jack of all trades or the master of one? And my answer was the jack of all trades, because I've done so many things. I can pull all of these experiences and then unify them into a cogent message that is concise and really, what does Jordan Peterson say? The leader's ability, the number one thing that a leader does is bringing is the articulation of the imagination of the population.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think leaders in general are more jack of all trades, Renaissance men, than they are masters of one.
Yeah.
I really think that, that they have a breadth of knowledge. You and I joke around a lot. I have all this useless trivia that I throw out, and then you like joke with me about, that's right. Let me read some of these.
As you're getting with that next one, I think that's a real thorn in the flesh, as Paul writes about, that I think leaders have to carry with them for the rest of their lives, is because I was talking to my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, about this around Christmas time. And he said, Hunter, that might just be what you do. You might just go here, set the world on fire in this industry, and then go here, set the world on fire in this industry, and just keep bouncing. It might drive you crazy because you never feel settled. But that might be what he has in store for you. And I think that might be sort of what we're talking about. And I think that the more leaders who have that same thorn in the flesh, so to speak, I think that will bring them some peace, because that certainly brought me peace. I'm like, okay, well, because I'm always a person who's wondering what's next. Where am I going? And it's not, although I have bitched to you about being bored and things like that, but it's deeper than that. It's like, okay, well, what is next? Because I feel like I've reached my cap here, and then going to the next thing, like the spider web that you're talking about. But now I'm getting tangential. What's your next one?
How would you say your daily actions show service, not position or power?
A fellow RGM of mine who runs the Waverly location, which is just 5 minutes down the road from one of my locations, and now he's in AC training, so he's in training to become a district manager. He said, one thing that I always admire about you, Hunter, is that whenever our conversations are coming to a close, you ask me, how can I serve you?
What do you need?
Yeah.
How's it going? I mean, I ask, how's it going a lot? What's going on with you? How's it going?
Yeah.
Which is, in my mind, that concept is the same. You're a little more direct than I am.
But it really is. It's like the title of your book, or the subtitle. I'm not sure where it is now in terms of the publication process. But servant leadership. It's it was. I think it's Matthew 23:11. The greatest leader among you will be your servant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we talk about this a lot, but I just want you to touch on it more, because I know you're doing this, but I want to know what's your mindset. I'm leading up to a question here. What's your mindset? What do you see? What are you looking for? But the question is, how are you building people who can lead well? without you present?
Well, this is my second plug in as many minutes, it seems like, but Jocko Willink talks about this in his book. I think I'm rereading The Dichotomy of Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And he just states it explicitly. The best leaders are the leaders that are working themselves out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the best answer that I have for your question, is I'm just constantly looking to train my replacement. And I don't know why that isn't common sense, but common sense isn't so common these days. So maybe that's why that is. But that's how I approach all of the people in my store. From the jump, I made it very obvious that, or explicitly stated, that my job was up for grabs.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants it? I'll start pouring into you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of leaders are afraid of the people that that say, I want your job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think not leaders. I don't want to say leaders are afraid of those people.
Because then they're not leaders.
Then they're not leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think people in general, the vast majority of people, are afraid of the people that they think are gunning for their position.
It's like, welcome it.
And so they then have I don't want to say it's a natural response, but they get into this protective mode, and then they try to stifle that person, put that person down, or, in all sorts of different ways in the industry, not just the QSR industry, but business in general. And you should welcome those people. You should, one of the questions I would always ask you, or ask any of the people that work for me, can your unit run without you?
Mm-hmm.
And if you thought that I was looking for a no, it can't, that was the wrong answer.
Yeah.
I want, if you're a good leader, if this store can operate without you here. Right?
Yeah. It's one of the most maddening things that.
And I think that in general, people think the opposite of that.
Yeah. Because they want to be the superstar. They want the glory. They want all this and all of that. There are some people that I've worked with in the past who do have that mindset in terms of, well, it was my day off and look what happened.
Right.
You shouldn't voice that, because what you're actually advertising to the world when you say that is, yeah, this place can't run without you. And that's a problem. Yes, you are phenomenal at your job. And yes, this place does run better with you here because you are such a stud. But when you say that, I don't know if there's anything more self-sabotaging than that statement right there in terms of leadership. Like, I'm so great, this place can't run without me. Okay, well, great. Now you own a job. Or rather, it owns you.
It owns you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before too, is that when I'm evaluating someone and they say, oh, look at me, aren't I wonderful? I worked 60, 70 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not that great. I think we tend to focus on, in our industry, in the QSR industry, but in industry in general, we tend to reward the people that are putting in the 60, 70, 80 hours.
Yeah, burnout is like a badge of honor.
And yeah. And I mean, we also focus on the other side too. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, you're only putting in 30 hours. That's why I always, and this is my mantra. You need to work as many hours as you need to work to get the job done.
Mhm.
And there are times in our industry where you might be 60, 70 hours. But if you are consistently working that many hours a week, there's a problem.
Mhm.
It's not a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people that have worked for me. I've seen a lot of people that have worked for me that wore it as a badge of honor.
Mhm.
And then you look at their their numbers, you look at the metrics, you look at the KPIs, and there's no way that their unit would hit those numbers if they weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a badge of honor. That's not leadership.
I was at one of my.
Can you hit your KPIs? When Hunter's not there.
I was at one of my locations yesterday, and the gal looked at me, and she was. I wouldn't say it's my location. They have found a new leader for that store, and she is a leader for that store. I'm quite confident in that. But the AGM at that location, who essentially has been running the store while it's been in limbo without a full-time RGM there, she said to me, I had 3 days off in January.
And she was saying this is a great thing.
Yeah.
I only took 3 days off in January.
Yeah. And it's like that's like a trickle down.
Mm-hmm. And then because
effect there.
So then because I only took 3 days off in January, I expect every single one of my subordinates to only take 3 days off. So then I am burning out my subordinates like crazy. And leaders act like stewards.
Mm-hmm.
They're planning for the long term. They're planning, that you're a steward of your location. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That they're planning for success after they are gone. They're planning for that unit's success after they're gone. That's a leader.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the only reason why this is going to sound really crazy when I say this, but I think the only reason why I've had as much success as I've had in any industry that I've been in is because I'm extremely lazy. I don't like working. Mm-hmm. I like doing the things that I like to do. Mm-hmm. I like to give speeches. I like to train. I love to write. And anything that gets in the way of that, i.e. my job, I try to get out of the way as quickly as possible. And the only way that I've known how to do that is by making the place run without me as quickly as possible, so I can go do other things. Mm-hmm. Right? But I think in this industry in general, I think that's one of the biggest problems with this industry that we're in now is one, because there really isn't. There's no built-in break. There's no built-in day off unless you're Chick-fil-A. And companies can preach family. They can preach and talk about flexibility and protecting people's time and all those things. But the fact of the matter is, when the rubber meets the road, the RGM is the last resort. If something goes down, then
expand
and
expound. The RGM is the last resort.
If everybody calls in, mm-hmm. then you're in. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a problem. Mm-hmm. I think that's a problem.
How do you solve that?
I don't know. It's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And it's something that continues to weigh on me and continues to make me wonder if this is the industry that I'm going to be retiring in, or when I can finally get out of this industry. Because as you know, I've been looking to get out of this industry ever since the day that I got in. Mm-hmm. The industry has been very good to me. It has redeemed me. I'm not ungrateful for everything that it's done for me, but at the same time, it has taken an emotional and a mental toll on me for that reason, because there is always that reaper kind of tapping his sickle on your shoulder in terms of like, hey, yeah, you never really can. I guess you're always sleeping with one eye open.
So,
right?
I mean,
because you're on call.
What you said is very much true in the industry. And it is 365, 24/7. Mm-hmm. And it very much is. And there is that burnout is it's big in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's big in the QSR industry. And I think that that can be solved given the resources that our industry have, low margins, which equal that's food cost and labor cost, the two biggest controllables of a RGM,
Mm-hmm.
food cost, labor cost,
Mm-hmm.
right? The prime factor, 60%. But I think that's an age-old problem in our industry. How can it be solved? How can burnout be solved? How can that be solved? And I think that if that can be solved in our industry, if that chopping block mentality of the store manager
Mm-hmm.
can be solved, I think that solves a lot of labor issues. And I mean, we tried different methods to do it. We had floating. I tried floating managers. I've tried multi-unit MUMs. I've tried.
I think we just need to empower the RGM more with the autonomy that you gave me when I was running 2 locations for you. I think it's the hardest position in the industry, because I think once you get above this door, it's just different stress. When you're a district manager, it's different stress.
Sure.
But
I mean, a district manager is less likely to be the person that's called to fill in.
yeah.
And that should be the case, because if a district manager is filling in at store A, depending on how many stores they're a district manager of, then store B, C, D, and F are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you solve that?
It's tough, because then at the same time, when the ARLs, the above restaurant leaders, are doing what they need to do, because they're above the restaurant, they're beginning to, over time, that empathy is beginning to erode, where they don't actually know what's going on in the store. They forget what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have that communication chasm between the RGM and the DM, because the DM's like, well, I've been where you're at. Here's what you should probably do. And the RGM's like, yeah, you haven't been in a restaurant in X amount of years. And I see that with leaders in the corporation now. It's just like, that's what you want to happen. How long's it been since you've been in a restaurant? Like, you think that's practical? Like, okay. But so it's not I'm trying to think of the term for it, but it's not a very, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And so it's like, what do? Because I don't know the best way to do it. The only way that I think I probably could do it is just by empowering the RGM more. I mean, and I don't know if it's more money. I do think RGMs are underpaid, but at the same time, it's also, you need to also make the position more attractive with some of the autonomy, with some of the other things that are going on there, because very few people, at least in this concept that I'm in right now, want to actually be a restaurant manager, let alone an assistant general manager, because they look at that number, 50 hours a week, and they say, no, I'm good with my 35 to 40. Thank you very much. Right. And so there's that number right there that's attached. 50 hours, 100 hours per period, per pay period. No questions asked. And that's a huge turnoff already. Like, no, wait, screw that. Like, no, I mean, 100 hours in Garrett, like, absolutely. Like, what? Why? Yeah. Why? If you can get the job done in 20 hours a week, 40 hours of a pay period, who cares?
My feeling on set hours. I mean, and obviously, in the terms of when my grandson's pie, you're built different, So I think differently than probably 99% of
so then what the hell are we doing?
QSR executives.
So then what the hell are we doing, David?
So
what the hell are we doing? Because because you and I have talked about this. Is this like, you and I talk about these problems every single week, but then like it's like we sit there and we talk about the problems, but we never actually fix them. And so it's like, so do we need to be the solution of which we're actually searching for in the industry?
I think that it's important to bring them up, talk about them, and then people that are watching this go, huh, yeah, maybe that's right. I mean, I don't know how many QSR leaders I could go to and say, don't give your unit managers set hours. You know, your guiding principle should be, you need to work as many hours as you need to work to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to measure that you're getting the job done by these 3 KPIs, however you want to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever you want to set it up. So if one of the, you know, obviously the 2 biggie KPIs in our industry, food cost and labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're hitting labor as the RGM, as the unit manager, and you're hitting labor and you're working 30 hours a week, I need to keep my mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
You're hitting food cost as the unit manager, you're hitting that prime number, the 60% or under. Prime number is combination food cost labor, right? We know that. And you're hitting that. I need to keep my mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
As the franchise executive, as a franchisee, as the district manager, the senior district manager, whatever. If you have a leader in a store and they're hitting their numbers, their KPIs, and they're working 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week, why am I bothered that they're not working 50?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's obviously a profit issue, right?
Well, yeah, but then it goes to the core of what I've said before, is that no one's going to cut their way to success. You know, so it's like you look at it and you say, well, if my RGM at this store is working 40 hours a week, if I tell him he has to work 50 hours a week, then that'll reduce this labor, blah, 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 and trying to cut my way to success.
That's the part that stinks for me, is when I'm there at a store and we're bad on labor right now. And there are some people who don't want to be sent home because they need the hours. But I'm salaried and I have a contract that says I need to be there for 50. I can't cut me.
Mm-mm.
I got to cut you.
Because you still get paid. Yeah, you get
that
paid
sucks.
whether you're, yeah, it does.
Like that sucks for them. Where I could just be like, why can't I just be like, yeah, we're bad on labor right now. I'm going home. You guys got it. But instead, I have to cut the hours from people who were in my position 2.5 years ago, or they may be driving one car with no power steering or brakes, and they can't afford to put money on their table. But now I just cut them because, hey, I'm contracted for 50 hours a week. I have to be here. You got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that.
It's the nature of our job. It's the nature of the industry. If I tell you,
Yeah.
see, that's the 50 hours thing where I don't necessarily, but if I say these are your KPIs for the week, for the month, whatever, but there has to be flexibility. I think sometimes we get so focused on KPIs that as district managers, directors of operations, whatever, that we get so focused on it that we only look at the day or the day part. What you're saying, focusing on the pennies and passing over the dollars.
Oh yeah, stepping over dollar bills to pick up pennies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, the store did not hit labor today for this day part. Yeah, you didn't hit labor for today for this day part. Which plan?
Mm-hmm. Got it. I mean, yeah, but that's a whole other thing, because I think labor, trying to control labor, I think that's retarded. I really do. I think you should overstaff your stores. I do.
So
it's especially in a concept like Taco Bell where the margins are 40% You should overstaff your store. You should overstaff your store. You should overstaff your store. And the reason for that is because you're going to deliver better customer service. You're going to deliver better customer service. The store is going to be cleaner. There are going to be fewer things left undone. I mean, we're kind of running into that problem right now where we had just had a manager meeting about this yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And we're going over everything that we need to get aligned on as this particular location is set to become a training store. And by the end of the meeting, we're just like, when are we going to do the cleaning list? Because if we only have a certain amount of labor to get to use in order to get the store up and running, and everybody's breaks are taken care of, so that by 11 o'clock we're in lockdown and we ain't moving, how are we going to get our clean list done before then, while we're in a slower period, so we don't have the bodies to put in there to do what we need to do? And it's just the answer is you overstaff it. I don't know. I mean, you just overstaff it. Because if you don't, then you're going to run into a problem that we've been talking about ever since this conversation started, and that's burnout.
But if you have a manager that is constantly overstaffing and coming to you and saying, I'm overstaffing because of A, B, C, D, E, then the question becomes, do you not know how to deploy the people at the right time in the right positions? Okay, we're slow from 2 to 4. So I'm going to deploy one person. I'm going to pull them off of whatever and deploy them to be cleaning.
I guess that you just have to ask yourself the question: Are you looking to be quick service? Because if you're looking to be quick service, then I think that both the customer and corporate just need to lower their expectations. Period. Because you don't have enough bodies to get what needs to get done every single day if you're going to abide by labor. It's just not going to happen. Especially, I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and it might happen. If it does happen, which I've seen it happen, you're going to run your people ragged. It's not an effective long-term solution to do it. It's not. I've seen it. And so then you need to ask yourself the question: do we want to be a quick service restaurant and abide by this, or do we want to start shifting more towards a fast casual or more of a full service restaurant that operates under the guise of quick service restaurant? Because you're asking people to do, and I'm not saying that we need to make the job Camp Cupcake for people. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, you need to lower your expectations, especially during the slow times.
If I'm a stakeholder in the company, and I have put up $2-3 million, and I mean, again, going back to the only reason people go into business is to make money, and that's not bad. That is, I think some people cringe at that and say, but if the reason that I am putting $3 million of my money into this location is to make money, and I know as a stakeholder that the only way I'm going to make money in the QSR industry with such low profit margins is hitting prime, 60%. Food cost labor has to be 60%. If it starts going up, I'm not going to make a profit.
Well, that becomes a battle between the franchisee and corporate then, because if you're a publicly traded company like Taco Bell, then like other publicly traded companies, all you give a fuck about is earnings, i.e. sales. You don't give a fuck about profit. Sales. Right. The franchisee cares about profits.
Right. So I'm the franchisee. Right? I'm the franchisee. I mortgaged my house. I sold off some stuff. I, called my sister, my brother, my sister-in-law and said, hey, can you throw in 10 here? Can you throw in 50 here? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pay you back at X percent over 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Let's sign a note.
Mm-hmm.
We'll sign a promissory.
Yeah, but the people that are working for you don't give a fuck about that.
No, they don't, which is true. They don't.
They don't.
But,
but
I do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I come up with $3 million to buy a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for that franchise to be successful, I have to hit prime of 60%.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 40% left over that, 30% of that is going to my hard cost, right? My insurance, my rent, my utilities, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's 10 cents on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
That's profit.
Yep.
And there's some wiggle room with that, okay, maybe this week it's going to, I'm going to make, 3 cents on the dollar. And next week I'll make 10. And, so then hopefully I'm coming out with a return of 5%.
Yeah, but that's a fact that isn't true, because I think that applies for dying brands like the one that you and I used to be a part of. It doesn't apply for a brand like Taco Bell where the margins are 30 points higher.
So my goal as a franchisee is growth. How I define growth, I'm going to set different, growth may be number of units that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Growth may be AUVs. Growth may be profit margins, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? So first of all, I set what's my definition of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever my definition of growth is, my stores have to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
For my stores to be profitable, I have to set some parameters.
Well, what is the definition of growth? Because if you're a franchisee, corporate, I'm not sure corporate really gives a fuck if you're making a profit.
No, it depends. I mean, there are corporates that have different definitions of growth
Mm-hmm.
as well. I mean, there are brands that growth is measured by, number of units. There are brands that growth is measured by AUVs of each unit. There are brands that measure growth as profitability for the stakeholder of each unit.
Mm-hmm.
So growth, the definition of growth varies depending on the brand, depending on the franchisee,
Mm-hmm.
right? The brand I used to be in, or what definition of growth in the beginning was number of units.
Mm-hmm.
So they had more units than any QSR in the industry, period. That was the goal, was
Mm-hmm.
to have the most number of units. Hurt the franchisees. That mindset hurt the franchisees. Because it's like, okay, the corporate, the franchisor definition of growth was number of units.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was, well, we're going to have a unit here. We're going to have another unit a mile away. We're going to have another unit a mile away. We're going to have a unit across the street in a different, a different type of, this is a gas station. This is a freestanding. So that cut into the profit of the franchisee, unless the franchisee owned all those individual stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
That mindset is okay in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
As a franchisor, that mindset's okay in the beginning. But no matter what, as a franchisee, if I don't want to lose money, if I don't want to see the $3 million that I begged, borrowed, and steal to go up in smoke, we have to, as a unit, hit 60%.
I mean, that's great, but then at the same time, then just be prepared for constant turnover. Mm-hmm. and constant Loops, or what we used with Subway, Medallia, and all of those things. Like, just be prepared for it, and then don't bitch about it.
But
because you're gonna have those problems the more constraints that you put on your people. Period.
So my question is, how can there be both?
They can't.
Why not?
Why not what?
Why can't there be both?
Why can't you have an overstaffed store and still make a profit?
Right.
I'm saying, I guess I'm not to backtrack because now I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite. I'm saying that you can, especially with a concept like Taco Bell, where I know that my one of my locations has a 41% margin. You can.
Okay.
Can you not? With margins like that?
Yeah, you can, but I mean, I don't know all the numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know all the numbers for your brand. I don't know, and each individual unit has different numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Not only AUV numbers, but each individual unit has different hard cost.
I don't think that you'll see it like that and just say, okay, overstaffing your store, and now everything's gonna be hunky-dory in a period, which is 28 days. It might take 2 to 3 periods. It might take 6 periods. But but you're going to start conditioning your customers to a more enjoyable experience.
So I'm playing,
because the biggest bane of my people's existence in the concept that we're in right now is stress.
Right.
There's too much to do and not enough time to do it. And then you hear the frickin' drive-through thing going off in your headset, and that's always number one, is taking care of the customer. And I am just so against that axiom. Fuck that. Like, the customer is not first. My employees are first. Mm-hmm. Period. And so that's why I'm an advocate of overstaffing the stores. So then from there, you can deliver a better customer experience. Your RGMs and AGMs can actually do what they're supposed to be doing, which is working on the business, having one-on-one so they can build and develop the next leaders to run the damn place, rather than being stuck on the line making food all fucking day because you're beholden to a labor number. Like, fuck that. Like, you're not going to get any traction in terms of what you're trying to do long term, and the customers are going to get pissed off. The people inside the store are going to suffer because of it, and you're not going to get everything done. And then you're above restaurant leaders and be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why isn't everything getting done?" Because we're understaffed.
Mm-hmm. So then, how do you sell overstaffing to someone like me? How do you come to me, or not just me, but how do you go to your direct report, your direct reports report, and sell the concept of overstaffing with the understanding that our goal in the industry, our goal, no matter who we are, is not to lose money?
I would say, do you think that a 100-meter sprinter has a better chance of running a PR in starting blocks and taking the time to set them up, or just getting down in a 3-point stance and taking off? Taking the time to set your starting blocks will give you a better projection, a better acceleration, a better top end, a better finish. And so when you take the time to set your starting blocks with having adequate hands on deck, you're going to set yourself up for a better projection, a better start, a better acceleration, a better top end, and a better finish. Period. Period. The days that I come into the stores where it was, just truck days in general, just truck days that are truck, and it's like, yeah, you guys are behind. No shit, the truck came today, and we don't have the labor to afford to give you another person to get the truck off.
Is there a difference between? So I mean, when you say overstaffed to someone like me, walls start to go up. So is there a difference between overstaffed and adequately staffed?
Yeah, I would say that adequately staffed, you're probably going to do 5 to 6 during your peak periods. 2 people on either side of the line, 2 people in the window. And then I think that overstaffed is 7 to 8. And so then if you got 2 people on either line, 2 people at the window, and then 2 other people either taking care of cleaning tasks, and then the other person could be free floating and being that digital host for guests and things like that. Because otherwise, yeah.
And how is that making me money?
How is it making you money? It might not make you money initially. That's just why I said it might be a
So thinking as, you know,
because the customers are gonna have to be conditioned to it for a little bit. Like, whoa, this is different than the other Taco Bells I've been to. Like, you guys are actually friendly. You guys are actually enjoyable. You guys are delivering me a really great experience rather than just trying to get me out of the door as quickly as possible or seeing me as an inconvenience. Why? Because you are an inconvenience when you're adequately or understaffed.
So what can I look at as a franchisee who has maybe, let's say, 50 units?
Yeah.
What can I look at to say that strategy is working?
Sales. Which is why I say it might take 6 months.
No, but yeah. So what can, you know, like you said, it's going to take 6 months. But throughout those 6 months, look at this and compare it to the other units that you own.
Number of complaints, because I think
that's where I was trying to lead you to.
Yeah, number of complaints. Because if you have more people on, then you're going to have less opportunities for complaints to happen. And the less opportunities that you have for complaints, the more perfect reviews are going to come into play. And then perfect reviews are a kicker that corporate looks at that I'm assuming would factor into the corporate's decision to let you buy more stores. If you have all of your units and you're getting more than 10 complaints per 10,000 transactions, and we're like, why would we give you more stores?
So I think that, and we've talked about this before, you know, Medallia and whatever your acronym is for it, but I think today, more so than we first opened up, reviews have a bigger impact on sales than they ever used to have. You know, the 5-star, the Google review, the this, the that. I'm amazed at how many people your age, my kids' age, even my grandkids' age, that's their first stop when they're deciding where to go to eat. Is, well, what's their Google reviews? You know,
when I look to buy a book,
you know, how many stars do they have?
Yeah.
You know, and that concept is so different to me today than it was even 10 years ago. But, you know, definitely when we first opened up, you know, it was more word of mouth than it was instantaneous kind of thing. So.
But yeah, I mean, my AGM and I were talking about it the other day. I mean, he was just he was stressed out, and he just said, even because it was on admin, it was Wednesday, it was admin day for him, and he was writing schedules, and we had artificial intelligence testing and all of that. Some people from HR and all that, and I just went in the line and started making food with everybody so he could focus on that. And he's like, Hunter, even you just doing that was huge. I mean, just because I haven't been able to do anything. And he's like, and you shouldn't even be doing that either. You should be having one-on-ones with people and all this. I'm like, yeah, I know, buddy. I know. Because I mean, it's like, what good am I to be like you and I used to joke about when I was a district manager and senior district manager. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm on the line now. I'm effectively the highest paid sandwich artist in the entire company. Right?
I used to say that all the time.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing. And now don't get me wrong, I got no problem turning on the tunes and getting my team pumped and ready to crush a dinner rush.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun. And that's fun. And I think you do need that. And they need that, and they need you. They need you to be shouldering it with them as a leader. Right? But not all the time.
Not all the time.
Not all the time.
No.
Right? I mean, before lunch and happy hour, those times should be on the business. But if we're sitting here trying to make up labor during that time, well, then please don't come and bitch to me when things about on the business aren't getting done. or when we are not where we want to be business wise because I don't have any time to work on the business. And then you might say to me, well, Hunter, just work on that stuff at home. I've tried that. It's not, that isn't a good long-term strategy either, because then you develop resent.
Yeah, I know that the good leader does stuff at home. I know that happens. I don't want that to be part of culture.
I think if it's your business, you can do stuff at home.
Right. But I mean,
knock yourself out.
But in general, I don't want my people that worked for me. Well, I'm gonna take the schedule and I'll do the schedule at home, and that becomes habit. I don't think that's good culture, and that's just my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
When you're home, you should be home. That's culture.
So then, I go back to the question I asked you maybe 20 minutes ago,
Sure.
David. What the hell are you and I doing about this? Because I feel like we talk about, and I'm not saying, when I say this, I'm not saying that I'm not complaining us talking about the same issues over and over and over again, but we seem to be talking about the same issues over and over and over again. And so, but what are we actually doing about it? Because it's just do we want to be the change that we want to see in this industry, or do we want to do something different, or is it one of those things that it's just, hey, this is never going to change? What are we actually doing about it? Because it is sort of, it's frustrating, because it's like we see this problem here, and it doesn't need to be that way, in my opinion. It doesn't need to be that way, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. What do you think?
I mean, it's something I really have to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be a fix, but I have to think about it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's a mentality in our industry, and it's a mentality that bothers me, is the disposability of people. And especially I think that there are people in our industry, and by people I mean owners, franchisees,
Mm-hmm.
that have the mentality that the most disposable person in their organization is the unit manager.
And in my opinion, that's the most important person.
Right. And you know how many times I've talked about this. As a franchisee, who's the most important person in the store to me?
The restaurant manager.
Right.
Yeah.
I've said that 1,000 times, but I don't think that mentality is shared by most franchisees.
Yeah, I don't. I think, like we've talked about before, I think it's more of a top-down approach rather than a bottom-up.
Right. It's not servant leadership.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah. You're the COO. You worked your way up. That's all great and good. But you ain't in the store, bro.
Right. It's not. It's not servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we get franchisees to realize that, one, you need to identify and hire the right person, the right leader for your unit. You need to pour in them all the resources that you can. And you need to give them a fair amount of autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get franchisees to change mindsets to that? Knowing that probably that franchisee has, especially those that are just starting out in the beginning, that have invested a tremendous amount of their personal capital into that organization?
I've thought about it a million ways, David. I mean, I think about it almost every day when I'm at work in terms of like what could be done to make this better for everybody, and what could be done to allow the AGMs and the RGMs to actually do what they need to do, so they're not constantly just glorified food champions, and then they're pulling their hair out, and then they're getting resentful towards the company, the store itself, and they're literally counting down the days until their next vacation. That's not good.
No.
I mean, that's where my AGM is right now. We were talking on the way home there, and I was talking to him on the way home every night. He's like, he said that he told our boss not to contact him while he's in London. Like, I do not want you to contact me. Like, we shouldn't be letting our people get to that point. And I don't say that as if like, I don't say that like our bosses have failed him. I think that just the concept itself kind of lends itself to get people to that point. I've even thought about some radical ideas in terms of just only letting the drive-thru be open for peak times. I've thought about that, and that might be a radical idea. And people will be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But like, yeah, I've thought about that. Like, well, what would happen if we just only had our drive-thru from 11 to 2 and 5 to 8, and then maybe 8 to 11. So then we could only serve front counter people during 2 to 5, and then 7 to 11, and kind of treat it like a Parkinson's law, right? If you give people only 3 hours per day, 3 hours here, 3 hours there, then, well, Parkinson's law would suggest, because it's a law, that you would actually generate more business because of the scarcity factor, right? So I've thought about that, because then if you were limiting if you didn't have a drive-through for 3 hours, only front counter guests during happy hour and during breakfast, well, that would free up a lot of time for your people to work on the business. Unless you just want to just totally upward delegate all of the on the business stuff to the district manager, that might be an option as well.
Yeah, but then you run into, so the role of a district manager, what was the expression that you just used?
Upward delegation.
No. Outside of the store, above the manager level.
Above restaurant leaders.
Yeah.
ARLs.
Above restaurant leaders, their main goal is to make the restaurant leader's job as easy as possible. But if you're a leader of a unit, there's still things you need to have control of to develop a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I.e., especially the whole HR process.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean the hiring and firing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have someone outside of...
Emphasis on the firing.
Right. But you cannot have someone outside of the unit, outside of the leader, making the hiring and firing decisions. The unit leader has to have total autonomy to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
However, how can I support that unit leader if I'm above the unit leader in those decisions? How can I help them with hiring takes a tremendous amount of time away. I mean, it takes that whole hiring process.
Yeah.
The recruitment takes a tremendous amount of time. So how do I, as a above restaurant leader position, assist the restaurant leader in the whole process without taking away that person's autonomy in developing their team?
A second interview, depending on position.
So as the above restaurant leader, am I responsible for doing the initial interview? And I have 5 stores.
No, I wouldn't. No, I know. I don't think they're getting involved in the hiring and firing process. I think they're getting. I think if we're going to adhere to strict labor metrics, then they need to be doing other things that.
So then, how do I, as an above restaurant leader, help support my restaurant leader in the whole HR aspect of a business.
Oh, I'm not pleading for help in the HR aspect.
It's a big part of the job.
But that's not where I'm pleading for help.
No, I'm
you're trying to sell me a solution that I don't believe I have a problem for.
Okay, no, I'm thinking of all the different aspects of a unit manager's job. So that's the first one I thought of.
Cash control,
how do I
hiring, firing, core, which is rev.
Right.
And I would say,
but how can I, all of those things, all of those,
you curate it, David. So it's not going to be cookie cutter. So this restaurant manager might have these particular strengths, these particular weaknesses. Okay, then you aid them on those weaknesses. You aid this restaurant manager has these strengths and weaknesses. You aid them on these weaknesses. So it's not a one size fits all approach. You gotta be a chameleon with.
So a big part of scaling up is systems. If I want to scale up, I've got 5 stores and my goal is to scale up to whatever, 200 stores, 300 stores. The only way I can scale up is by putting systems in place, right? And it's really hard to get systems to be tailored individually, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of system can I put in place, or what systems do I put in place that answer that question of, you got to manage this person differently than this person managed than this person. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense in it, but I think it would go back to the book that I've
because
talked about
there's no way I'm going to scale up without policies, procedures, systems.
My answer would be the same thing that we've been talking about for the past half an hour, which is overstaff your stores. Overstaff them. Things will always get missed if you are constantly micromanaging labor. Things will always get missed. You might have high loops, which is complaints. The store might not be as clean as it needs to be. Might not be where it needs to be from a core aspect because people are stressed and they forget things and they're understaffed and it's the middle of fucking dinner and that drive-through you have 120 cars on a Tuesday night in January. It's like, where the fuck did that come from? We're having a summer dinner in the middle of January. So you overstaff it and using your line because you're not going to cut your way to profit.
Right.
Period. An overstaffed store is a less stressed store. Having 9 people in a lunch in August is less stressful than having 4 to 5 people in a lunch in January. You might run 150 cars in the former. You might run 75 in the latter. The latter's more stressful. 100 times more stressful. Why? Because it's not overstaffed. But you still get out of that. You still get out of that thing positive. In the former, why? Because you're overstaffed and nothing gets missed. Everybody's I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. And since you're overstaffed, speed ain't no thing. And so you're pushing transactions through. Transactions, sales, labor isn't a fucking issue.
Yeah, because profitability in the QSR restaurant is based on volume. It's how many cars can you get through, how many units, and how many can you sell.
And the only other thing that I could potentially reach for, but then I don't think it's sustainable because it's not sustainable for me. And I do it all the time. And that's train. If you want to be less stressed and if you want to be more fit for service, then get in the best shape of your life in this industry. You will quite literally, by definition, have the capacity to do more because you're in better shape.
Right.
But again, it's only sustainable for so long because I know that I've gotten there. I run a slow location when we don't have labor to give. I became the labor, right? And I got burnt out at the end of when was that? The end of November this past season. So yeah, it's like, and I consider myself a pretty fit person. I was burnt out. I was resentful. I turned my phone off for 5 days when I took that vacation. It's not good. And I don't know. Well, I mean, I think I don't know if that's the answer, but it's my proposal. And that's just give your people more people to work with and throw labor out the window. Because I don't know how else that you're gonna avoid the burnout problem. Because if you're the best manager, and I know some damn good ones, manager is not synonymous with leader, but I know some damn good managers who can button up all the numbers and make sure that they're giving breaks and cutting people at appropriate times and doing all of those things. But they do not look good physically.
Mm-hmm.
They have purses, not bags, purses under their eyes. They'll look like shit. And it's just like, yeah, it's kind of like, how do I say this? Back squats are a good exercise, but they get more out of me than I get out of them. That's why I don't do back squats anymore, because they get way more out of me than I get out of them. And I think that there's some managers in our industry that the job gets way more out of them than they get out of it.
Oh, sure.
And I think it has to do a lot with these myopic metrics and things that we're trying to uphold our restaurant managers to that just aren't long. Obviously, they're not good long-term solutions because of the turnover problem that we have in this industry.
Right. So, turnover problem. One of the other things that I want to end this on something funny. Well, not funny, but
have I not been funny?
You've been funny. Yeah, there's a couple of maybe it's more semantics than it is. I think we think the same thing, but we're using different. To me, overstaff. When you say overstaffing, I cringe.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like you're just throwing dollars out the window. That's and I think that to me it's adequately staffed more than overstaffed.
But to use an argument against you, our old boss, I mean, like with the obsession about cost of goods.
So adequately staffed, though, I think a lot of franchisees, when I use that expression, adequately staffed,
mm-hmm.
probably would. My idea of adequately staffed and your idea of overstaffed are probably the same thing. We're just using different terminology.
Mm.
I'm thinking,
mm-hmm.
Because it's when I start saying if I go to a unit manager and say overstaff, and I just say that without any guidelines on what I mean by overstaff,
mm-hmm.
They're going to have 9 people at 2:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, period. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you told me to overstaff,
mm-hmm.
So I think.
But that's dichotomous as well, because if I wouldn't say 9, but let's say you got 5 people at 2 a.m., well, then you're probably going to get, and if the store closes at 3, you got 5 people there. Well, then you probably have a better chance of getting out at 3:30, maybe 3:45, as opposed to having 2 people there and getting out at 6.
Right.
So choose your heart.
But then you add the numbers. How much are you spending with 5 people to close the store down versus 2 people to close the store down? So you're telling me you're going to have 2 people, and it's going to take, and you're closing at 3, let's say, and you're not going to leave until 6. So you're having 2 people, and for 3 times 2, you're spending 6 hours of non-generating labor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not generating any income.
Mm-hmm.
That labor's not generating any income.
Mm-hmm.
Versus 4 people, 5 people for a half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if we have 5 people for a half an hour, you're having non-generating labor of what, 2.5? versus two people closing for 3 hours, non-generating labor of 6, well, then it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Then, okay, but how many of your managers, not leaders, managers, can make that decision on the fly?
I don't know.
Now so then that's why I have to have policies and processes in place. And to be honest, Hunter, most policies, procedures, and processes are written for the dumbest manager that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody has to follow them because we have to follow policy. So they're dumb. Policies and procedures are dumbed down to the weakest manager.
I mean, that makes sense. When I would have lunch with Buddy Morris, and when I lived in Phoenix, Buddy is the head strength coach for the Arizona Cardinals, and he and I would have protein shakes from this one-stop nutrition, it was called, in Tempe, and we'd sit on this curb, and he would always bitch and moan about all the changes to the newest collective bargaining agreement for the players that give him less time to prepare them, and then the league wonders why there are so many soft tissue injuries and all those things. He's like, but Hunter, when I get 30 guys in there, yeah, you get one guy like J.J. Watt, he's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I can throw the kitchen sink at him, but the other 52 guys ain't done shit.
Right.
So I have to adhere the training to the lowest common denominator. And now JJ is looking at me like, what the fuck? It's like, well, I have to adhere to the lowest common denominator, right? So,
then that's where you need flexibility as a franchisee to say, what's it, read rule 2.
What's read rule 2?
Yeah. Rule 1 is there are no rules. Rule 2 is read rule 1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's close with because we talked a lot about, the average employee on the line doesn't care that I, begged and kissed feet to raise $3 million to buy that store.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Probably the unit manager of that location doesn't care either.
Nope.
They don't care that, let's say scale it up, and I wanted to come into this market and buy 10 stores or 15 stores, and I had to go to the bank, and I got an 8% loan or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't care.
No.
They care about their weekly paycheck or their bi-weekly paycheck, and buying the Rice Krispies for the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, that wasn't an ad. But I'm going to ask, so what bold goals call people to serve something bigger than themselves? What can I set in place in culture that would call that crew member to serve something bigger than themselves?
It would be centered, I think it would be the fact that if you do it right, that fast food can fast track your dreams. And the only reason why I know that is because it worked for me. Doesn't mean that you have to stay in fast food for your entire life.
No.
But you can have it be the vehicle that drives you to the destination upon which you've been dreaming about for your entire life. When I was a little boy, I wanted to be a professional football player and be a published author. That's it. Boom. Done. Those two things. And those two things didn't happen until I got into the fast food industry.
Right.
I'm a professional football player, right? And I'm a published author. And those.
Did you just flash your ring?
Hell yeah, I flashed my ring. Right? It's a talking point. People were probably wondering what the hell is on my finger until I just said that. Right? It's a good conversation starter.
I'm a franchisee.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me don't go in and hey guys, I invested my lifeblood, all the money I have into this business.
That's about you.
Right. Go fight, win.
Yeah.
How I need to come up with a story, because we like stories.
Yep.
To make this about them and the team.
Yep.
And the story is different for every store.
Yeah, and I don't think that you're trying to necessarily solve the turnover problem because I think it's always going to be there.
No,
I think it's always, but I think you're going to delay it.
Right.
If that makes sense, because if you give somebody if you tell that compelling story where fast food can fast track somebody's dreams, then you are going to have jet fuel, but jet fuel runs out relatively quickly.
Right.
So you might have that person for 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever the case might be, but those are going to be incredibly productive years.
So we need to concentrate less on these are kind of interchangeable, but
less on retention, but
no, concentrate on retention, not on turnover. So instead of saying the average store turns over 135, 150%.
Not even retention, ascension. Because retention is a byproduct of ascension.
Okay. Well, I can't ascend every single crew member. Every single crew member is not going to ascend.
No, but the more people that are ascending, the more people that you're going to have as crew members.
If I hire someone who's 16, our goal with this guy, this girl, is to keep them until they graduate high school. I hire someone who's a freshman in college. My goal is to keep that person until they graduate from college, freshman, junior, senior, whatever.
I don't think there's a time element to it. I think there's a title element to it. Crew member comes in. How quickly can we get that person to a team trainer? And what is?
But then I gotta find another crew member.
Right. Yeah. So then you say, so if you're selling this person on fast food, fast track in their dreams, and the first step to get there is by becoming a team trainer. Oh, and by the way, if you're going to become a team trainer, you got to train your replacement.
So should the process of ascending people, should that process be compacted, trimmed down, more focused? Like if I say you can become a training store, you can become a training, whatever you just said, crew trainer. Our process you have to go through is 18 months before you will become a crew trainer.
No, that's retarded.
So, no, I mean,
it's retarded.
No,
you don't need 18 months.
No, I'm making up numbers. All right. So policy and procedure says for you to go from A to B will take X amount of months. Period. No deviation. Or should the deviations be built in?
You make exceptions for exceptional people.
Okay. I mean, that's where I was trying to get you to, is that I think that sometimes we're so rigid in the policy that this store can't become a training store until they've done A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G takes 13 months. Period. Done. Don't question it. Back away. You know what? I'm whoever, and I've evaluated this. We're going to skip D, E, and F for this store, this leader. So then who makes those decisions?
Who makes the exceptions?
Yeah, who makes the exceptions? ARL?
Well, no, because they're not in the restaurant. If it's happening at the restaurant level, then the person that's in charge of the restaurant should be making that decision.
Okay.
I'm not sure we solved anything today.
We didn't solve. I don't think we solved anything, but it was a really dynamic. I think it was very dynamic.
So in closing, David's working on a book. Be sure you give him a follow. He's most active on LinkedIn. That's David Taylor. I'm probably most active on Facebook these days. And be sure to pick up a copy of my book, The Way Out of Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery. That book is on Amazon. And if you guys have any topics, or QSR related or otherwise, please leave it in the comments. And because we do read them, and we want to give you guys what you want to listen to. So
one of the things we want to branch out is leadership in general.
Not just limiting it to QSR, but I do think that given our experience in QSR, we have some anecdotes that might be universal when it comes to leadership, but I think we are trying to maybe not extricate ourselves from QSR, but talk more broadly
Right.
about
I
leadership
mean,
in
because
general.
I think principles of leadership apply universally.
Mhm.
They're universal.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, our experience is QSR, but leadership in general is universal.
Yeah. So, bye everybody.